Hey there clan, welcome to Worth It or Not, and in today's installment of Worth It or Not we're going to be tackling a 3DS game. Now this is the first 3DS game I'm going to be doing a Worth It or Not on, so hopefully I do it right and don't fuck up in about half the shit I do. But today we're going to be looking at well, a lot of people have called this basically a must-buy for the 3DS, but also a system seller. Getting grave reviews all over the place, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get this review out sooner due to certain circumstances in my personal life, but I'm finally getting around to it. We're going to be diving into Worth It. So, I'm getting tongue-tied here, I do apologise. So let's answer the question, is Fire Emblem Awakening for the 3DS worth it or not? Let's dive right into that. So first thing I'm going to comment on this is the genre of game that this is. This is a genre of game that I personally can't stand. It's a genre of game that I tried playing as a kid, but I couldn't get into it. It's only in recent years that I've started playing a lot more in the similar style. And Fire Emblem Awakening is a tactical JRPG. It's more of a strategy RPG if anything, but a lot of people call it a tactical JRPG. For those who don't know what JRPG stands for stands for Japanese role-playing game, because the Japanese role-playing games are vastly different from the Western RPG games we play. You can actually put two of them up against each other, and you can tell instantly which one's which. Now, I'll talk about a little bit about JRPGs first. JRPGs have never been a genre that I've been into. Anytime I've tried to get into them, I've ended up hating them. My first JRPG was actually Final Fantasy VIII, and I fucking hate that game. I know, I hate it. That's a shock. The next one after that was Final Fantasy X. I skipped 9 because I didn't like the look of it. 10 I hated as well. And basically, I'd say most of my experience with JRPGs has been with Final Fantasy games. And now in recent years, I have been picking up a lot more. I finally got a copy of Final Fantasy VII, Kingdom Hearts. I've picked up a couple for the PS3, but this was one that I was very interested in because of one guy. One cynical guy known as Total Biscuit, or the Cynical Brit if you prefer. He's never been into JRPGs, and he praised this game. He says it's a system sell. So I was like, when it came out in the UK, which was about a month after it came out in the US, I was like, you know what? I've got a 3DS. I need a game for it, so I picked it up. So I just wanted to get that out there quickly. So what is this game about? Well, as it says, I gave you my story with JRPGs, but it's the tactical part. The story, firstly, let's go with the story. That's what we always talk about here first. The story. You play as a avatar character. Now, you can name this character anything you want. You can name him Robin, Batman, whatever. You can name whatever the hell you want. And you also have a bit of customization with the character. And what your character is... Oh, excuse me. Got a bit of a blocked nose. Is sort of a tactician, a military strategist. That's what your character is. And your character wakes up in a field with three characters going, "Hey, you okay? Wake up, come on, wake up." And those characters are Grom and Lisa. Or Lisa, it's two S's name, but I've heard it pronounced different. And Frederick. These three characters are vitally important to the plot, as Grom and Lisa are the prince and princess. I'm not sure if she's a princess because she never gets called that, but that's the best way I can describe them, of this world that you're in. Now, what's the name of the world again? I'm sorry, I kind of forgot the name. Yilsia. Y-L-I-S-S-E. I have no idea how the fuck to pronounce that. But they are the prince and princess of that, and their sister is the ruler. And basically, what happens is that creatures are starting to appear, and these creatures are called Risen. The best way I can describe them is they're basically smart zombies. That's the best way I can describe. But they are a bit more than that. They are the Risen Dead, but they still have intelligence to an extent, but intelligence beyond kill. And there's a power behind them that is controlling them. And subsequently, this has resulted in near enough an all-out war breaking out all over the kingdom, and Crom's kingdom being near enough destroyed. And that is the story in a nutshell. Your whole purpose as the tactician and as Crom and all the other characters is to find out what's going on with the Risen and trying to prevent all-out war. But subsequently, also a mysterious person has shown up wearing a mask, wielding an exact similar blade to Crom, in which he holds a... what the fuck is it called? It's a unique blade that has been passed down through the generations of Crom's family, and this person has shown up with it. an exact duplicate of it. And subsequently, you find out later on in the story that this involves time travel. And I can't go into too much more about the story without going into major spoilers, but that's basically the premise of the story. It's a bit of a mystery. You're trying to figure out why are the Risen appearing now, who's controlling them, but at the same time also trying to stop a war from breaking out that could destroy the entire kingdom. That's basically the story in a nutshell without going into major spoilers. But the story is actually very compelling. You actually get to know these characters. Now, throughout the story, you will come across different characters. The first 4 you're starting off with are Frederick, who's the Great Knight, probably your strongest character at the beginning. He's pretty damn high, pretty damn powerful, and can kill most enemies once you level him up in about 1 or 2 hits. Crom, the Prince, who is basically a swordsman. He's a noble, basically the best way to explain it is a noble fighter. I think that's the class he is. There are classes in this game, but I'll get to that in a moment. Lisa, who is the healer, the cleric, and of course, your character, whoever you know, I called mine Robin, because that was the default name, who is the tactician, who must decide how to do that. Now that's basically what I can say about that, and throughout the game you will come across different characters, each one having their own unique personality. Now of course they're very Japanese characters, I'm not going to lie, there are a lot of Japanese characters, but surprisingly I'll say one thing, they actually held back in the art style, I'm not going to lie. Whenever I play a JRPG, there's always one thing that somehow creeps in there that really fucking pisses me off, and it's a pet peeve of mine, and it is fan service bikinis, as I call them. Putting female characters or even male characters in skimpy revealing clothing. Now if it's not suitable for the setting, I really hate it, but this game actually doesn't do that. There isn't actually, a lot of the characters are dressed properly for their role that they are, so you kind of got no characters wearing revealing clothing for the sake of revealing clothing. All the characters are dressed pretty well, but they're mostly static images. But you will come across different characters, different classes, archers, mages, more Pegasus riders, Wyvern riders, which are basically dragon riders, dark magicians, all different types of classes that each have their own unique strengths and weaknesses. Some are much more better at fire, some are much worse, and you get before each battle you have to decide which character you pick, but I'll get to that in a moment. I'm rambling like a motherfucker. What do you expect? But yeah, you come across multiple characters. In total there are about, I'm trying to think, I'm going to say about 20. There can be more if I go into spoilers, but I can't go into that just at the moment. I might go into that a little bit towards the end, but that's going to the time travel aspect of this game. But yeah, that's that. So, story now, you come across different characters. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is tactics based. You will get a grid system in which you have to move you have to select your units first. You have to select units before each battle. And you can, now, depending on the battle, you could only get 5 people you can come with you, or 10 people you can come with you. And you have to think of this tactically, to bring this person with this person, bring that person with that person, because whoever you bring with you is vitally important, because if you bring the rank setup of people, you're going to get completely butt-fucked, because if you don't plan these out correctly and smart, you will get completely and utterly destroyed like that. The enemies are that smart. The enemies aren't stupid, they are kind of intelligent. And depending on what mode you're playing on, because there is 2 different types of mode in this game. There's the normal classic casual mode, which is the mode I played on because I'm not very comfortable playing on the other mode, which is classic mode, in which in classic mode, if your units die, they don't come back, they stay dead. So if you have spent the majority of the game leveling up a healer, and then you make a stupid move, in which results in that healer's death, they ain't coming back, they are dead, and dead. They ain't coming back anytime soon, so you have to think tactically if you're playing on classic mode. I played in casual mode because I'm not that comfortable with my skill in that. But you have to take, so that's basically what I want to get that out of the way. So you have to concentrate on once you've selected your unit, you're putting onto a grid basically, and there could be a number of enemies all over the place, and in some cases you'll actually get special objectives that are optional, but if you complete them you will get bonuses like protect the villagers, talk to this specific person, do this, do that, but they don't feel intrusive. They're actually there and they actually make sense for them being there, and you're like, huh, I actually want to achieve this bonus objective so that I can get the little extra thing, and the thing that you get normally helps out. In some cases you even get a new member to your unit, which is really awesome. And from there you have to, it's like basically a grid system. you, depending on which character you've got, like some characters can move more spaces than others. Like your long rangers, like your mages and your archers, you'll want to keep them at a distance so they can move a good amount of distance, but you want to keep at least a 2 space gap between them and the opponents so they can launch their attack while their opponent, depending on what class your opponent is, can't attack you. On the other hand, you'll want your heavy hitters, your cavalry units, your swordsmen, your Pegasus Knights, your Wyvern Riders. You want them going all out and going up to the front. But here's an interesting little thing that they add into this game: pairing systems. Now, this is a little system that they add that if two characters are side by side to each other, they will give each other small bonuses, and they will also develop relationship points with that. Now, we'll get to the relationship points in a moment, but this is where it is. This is actually my favourite part of the game. If you pair two characters together, if you pair like the Noble Knight with the heavy duty Paladin character, right next to each other, they will give a good amount of bonuses to each other, and they will actually improve their chances in the fight, i.e. giving them a more chance to hit, giving them more damage, giving them more speed, giving them more ability to dodge, things like that. Now, if they're standing side by side to each other, they do get a good bonus, and both can attack. However, you can actually select one unit next to each other and pair them up and join them into one big unit. Now, this does have its drawbacks. The drawback is that you only get to attack once with this paired unit, but the bonuses really get to bonus. Now again, only attacking once is kind of, I don't know how it works, but sometimes only one character attack in the pair, sometimes both will attack in the pair. I think it depends on certain circumstances. But pairing two characters together is actually a major benefit to the game because they will get massive bonuses and they will actually get better over time. These two characters together will improve each other so much that they will become near unstoppable depending on how it is. And you have to think, like, who would best the Paladin with the Great Knight? Would that work out really well? And it actually works out to be a really good method. The character of Sully, who was the Paladin in the game, and the character of Frederick, pairing they two together proved to be a pretty damn effective method in attacking the enemies, and near enough kill almost every enemy within 2 or 3 hits. And they never got hit either. Like, these characters survived through the entire game. And what happens once you've paired them up, which is the part that I love, is the relationship method, which is basically, best way to sum up, the characters will grow to find an attraction towards each other. They will gain bonuses in the shape of little hearts. Of course, it has to be hearts. Hearts. I can't do hearts. Wait, I can. Little hearts. Like, they will appear on their head and go, whee! And they will, what happens is, once the battle is finished, if they've developed enough relationship points with each other, they will actually talk to each other. They will actually, you can go to the barracks, which is the rest place, and it will say, new thing at the barracks. You click on it, you click on one of the characters who you paired up, and it will actually have 4 tiers. It has C, B, A, and those are basically the friendship ones. And then it has S. S is actually the marriage point. The characters get so well known to each other in the battle that they eventually get married, which gives them massive bonuses to the battle, but also adds a little bit to the characters, because the conversations they have are so adorable and so actually very relevant to the characters. The characters will talk to each other and be like, oh, how's this going? Can you help me train? Can you help me do this? Oh, you're so this, you're so that. They'll flirt with each other once they get to know each other real. And subsequently, when they get married, they actually get massive bonuses and become pretty damn an unstoppable force. Now, as I said, any male character can go with any female character, and you won't see any difference. You won't see like a romance scene for everyone. However, your character, the tactician, depending if you're male or female, whichever character your character romances, you will get a little romance cutscene per se, showing like the female character. Like my character is male, showing the female character being like, "Oh, I can't believe someone accepted me. I can't believe it's like this." And some of them are adorable, and some of them are funny as fuck. One of my favourite ones is actually a goth character. That's the best way I can sum her up. She's a dark magician. She's very... In fact, no, she's not goth. She's emo. She's an emo character, yes. There's always an emo character in JRPGs. We can't help it. And I didn't get her the first time round. It was actually my second playthrough that I actually ended up getting her, because in the first playthrough I accidentally killed her because I didn't know she was going to... Because that's another thing, it has great replayability. But my character romanced her, and I'm just going to say this right now, it was creepy as fuck, because she literally portrayed like she was stalking your character. I shit you not, it was like she was stalking your character, and at one point your character passes out, and she goes, all to myself. And I'm just like, did my character just get raped? That's what I was like. That's instantly what I was like, because it was creepy as fuck, but hilarious at the same time. And the romance cutscene was pretty damn funny as well, because she basically ends up going, this isn't really a spoiler because you can't, they're all over the place, but basically she goes, I can't believe you're finally mine. Don't you dare leave me or I'll kill you. It was creepy as fuck. I was like, I'll go back. It was creepy but fun as hell. So that's a really nice thing to this game, is the romances that can develop over the game. Certain characters you'll put with certain characters. Like I put Crom with... Fuck, what's her name? I can't remember her name now, but she's the Pegasus Knight who actually does... You get very early on, and she basically is in love with Crom from the start. You're just like, you're in love with him, aren't you? And you can tell right away she's bumbling, all stupid and all that. And I put they two together and they end up producing some pretty nice, wee, awesome team-ups. And that's one thing about the game that I really love, is that kind of thing, is how the characters build relationships. It's one of my favourite aspects to it. Now, we'll talk a wee bit about the graphics. The graphics are very anime-ish, that are very Japanese animation-like. Very couple of cutesy characters, but a lot of them are very well designed. Every character looks the role that they are meant to be and is designed the way they are, which is really cool. There's no over-exaggerated characters, there's no over-exaggeration of a certain body part, there's no tight revealing clothing on one or two characters, but for the characters that they are, it does actually make sense why they are the way they are. One character's a shapeshifter. Do I say what kind of shapeshifter? And she is kind of basically only wearing straps across there, but it makes sense because she's a shapeshifter, and also how old she is. She is actually over 1,000 years old. So you're kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. But it's the only problem is she kind of looks like a 13-year-old girl, and you're kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this. But that's just Japanese. Compared to most JRPGs I've seen, that's okay. That's actually really good. I like that. And there are also animated cutscenes occasionally in the game. They're only in brief segments. There's still some voice acting as well. Not a lot. I kind of wish there was more voice acting in the game, but there's only during the cutscenes. But the cutscenes are beautiful. They are gorgeous to look at. And I love that. I really do love that little aspect of it. It's really, really cool. I love it. The voice acting's good for what it is. It's only a couple of seconds. And occasionally characters in the game will say random lines like Crom and haha, huzzah, and random things like that, and wee quirky things. Like there is a bit of voice acting, but most characters are lucky if they get one or two voice points of dialogue. Crom and a certain other character, the masked character with the exact same sword, get the most dialogue for the cutscenes. That's basically the best way I can say it. They get the most cutscenes, hence they get the most dialogue. So yeah. That's basically what I was trying to think of this. Now let's answer the question. Is this a good game to pick up? Is it a system seller for the DS? And also, is it worth it or not? In my honest opinion, I had an absolute blast playing this. I've done a couple of playthroughs already. It has a massive amount of replayability. I've put maybe 30-40 hours into this game, and I still want to keep playing it. It is an absolute fantastic 3DS game, and yes, I am saying it right now, this game is worth buying a 3DS for. This game is absolutely fantastic. I will say this right now, if you're not into tactical JRPGs, you're going to hate it. But I think this game here is an absolutely fantastic, great, fantastic game. A system seller in my opinion. If you haven't picked up and you've got a 3DS, please pick it up. It is a must own for the 3DS library. It is a fantastic, really good game. And I'm hooked now. I'm hooked on this game, and I will be picking up a sequel if it ever does come. And all I can say is it's fantastic. I love it. And I would recommend that if you haven't picked it up, please go and pick it up. It's fantastic. I love it. I am now hooked on Fire Emblem. I might actually even go back and play the previous games in the series, if there are any. I do think there are quite a lot. And I am eventually going to try out Classic Mode, but I can imagine I'm going to get my ass handed to me by that. So overall, is Fire Emblem Awakening worth it or not? The answer is yes. It is worth picking up. It is worth every penny. Please, if you haven't had the chance of playing it, go and pick it up. It's fantastic. Highly recommended. Gets the Scottish Warrior seal of approval, so go check it out. And I will actually... Okay, from this point on, I'm going to have to talk about a wee bit of a spoiler point, but this is basically the end of the reviews. Well, not review. I don't like calling these reviews. It's just answering worth it or not. So, Overall, it's worth it. Go and pick up. This contains a little bit of spoilers at this point, but I just want to talk about this point. I'll try and make it brief. One of my favourite parts of this game, this is kind of spoilery, so advanced warning, I'll give you a few seconds to go away. Are you away? Okay, if you're still here, you're ready to talk. Okay, one of my this is beyond the relationship thing. This is my favorite part about this game. I just say this actually involves the relationship part. If your characters get together, like married, they will actually have children. And as I mentioned, there are actually time travel aspects in this game. The time traveling aspect of this game is that the children of your characters in the game, like if you put, I'll use two examples. I put Crom, no, I want to use that one actually. I put my character, like Robin, the main character, with a shapeshifter who shapeshifts into a bunny rabbit. Let the jokes start coming now. And subsequently, what happened was, due to the time traveling aspect of the child of both those characters, of my main character and the rabbit shapeshifter, came back from the future. Back to the future, Marty. I had to do it, sorry. And you actually get to meet up with that character, and if you actually save that character, they join your party. And you get a little funny dialogue between the characters, which is actually really fun, because the characters are like, wait, you're my kid? You're my son? You're my daughter? What the fuck? And I love it. It's so funny and so quirky, and you actually have to build up relationship with these characters as well. You actually have to get the parents talking to the kids to get them up to a little bit higher level. And subsequently also, depending on what class your characters are, will actually result in which class the characters turn into. Like, the child, like for example, my tactician and shapeshifter, Matt, the main cat, Matt, the child of those two, was a shapeshifter. That's what it was. But then in my second playthrough, my character ended up with another character, and subsequently, he wasn't a shapeshifter. He was actually a combination of a tactician and another class. I love that. That actually adds a lot of fucking replayability to it. Other characters will only have the thing is though, not every female character will have a kid. Not every male character will have a kid. Some characters won't have any, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. But I love that little aspect of it. And it adds a little bit more replayability to it, in my opinion, because it's so fun and quirky. I like it. They're quite good. There's not like an infinite amount of variables, but you will want to put certain characters with other characters, a mixture of all of them, to see what happens, really, to see what other kids are available. And I love that little aspect to it. And I really hope that does continue on in the series of the next game that comes out. So, I love it. It was enjoyable. I love that little bit. So, if you're still watching this, maybe that's a little bit of a spoiler for you. But I would still say, please don't pick this game up. It is an absolute fantastic game and a must-buy for the 3DS. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. As always, I'm Scottish Warren92. And I'll see you in the next installment of Worth It or Not. Ciao for now.